Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs, your award-winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. If you're listening to the show for the first time, where have you been? We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. We're of course on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook too, and we are back to provide you with a preview ahead of West Ham United to come, London Derby. I want to say all these guys have been here definitely for a London Derby preview, so I'm actually yet to witness and been on Last Word on Spurs after a London Derby. Rick knows that all too many. Not Chelsea on this show. Thank you for him on this one. Joining me on this Last Word on Spurs, back alongside me, back alongside me as well. We've got the wonderful Jason McGovern's back. Jace, how are you, mate? All good this week with the trees?
Yeah, all good this week. And me and Rick have just been having a fantastic conversation in the green room. So I'll update you on some of the topics later on.
Judging by Ricky's face, it looks like she should be left in the green room.
I think he's on the bus and I'm going on the front foot, that's for sure.
Interesting. We'll leave that there. That sounds X-rated for sure. Joining Jason back on the show. We've got the wonderful Talia Coren back. Tal, love to have you on Last One on Spurs.
Lovely.
How are you?
Back so soon as well. People.
I know. We're trying, Tal. We're trying. Listen, the games are coming thick and fast. You'll be with us, no doubt, busy over this Christmas period. And also back on Last Word on Spurs. From ice skating to Last Word on Spurs. It is the wonderful actor, man who's going to be on the ice come January. He's building up for it right now. We've got the wonderful Ricky Norwood back. Ricks, how are you, my man?
I'm very good, my friend. Very good. We are down in London town right now. We're at the studios. We've done some costume fittings. We've checked out the studios themselves. I've just received my skate off. If I get into the skate off, I've just seen that routine. And that's harder than the bloody well routine that I'm doing right now. I'm like, honestly, every time that I see something, I'm like, how am I ever going to do it? And then by the end of the week, somehow, I'm doing a version of it. Not the version, but a version. So, yeah, it's all good, bruv. Loads of excitement, loads of good times. And, yeah, I'm just happy to be back on.
Oh, bless you, mate. Can I just say the wonderful Ricky?
We're going to see him in sequins and high voice leggings.
Is that the first time, Jess, that BBC One's got your attention at 8 o'clock? Is it 8 o'clock?
No, I'm not watching it. I'm not watching that rubbish.
How dare you? Support one of our own. What are you talking about? He'll be there.
News. I never see it, mate.
He'll be there. Don't worry. He'll most certainly be there. We're looking forward to it. Wonderful Ricky Norwood. I did say off air, just to give viewers and listeners a glance, Rick, bless him, for his commitment to this show. I shared with him off air that I went to see... I was at my son's recent Christmas party in which they actually went onto the ice rink. I think it's different to where Rick's is at. I've got to be honest. I don't think it's anywhere near the conditions. I couldn't get the bloody ice skates on. So what Rick's is doing right now, I tell you, the man, give him all of our support. He's going to need it. He's absolutely superb. We're looking forward to seeing this man in action. Right. It's already, guys, a busy time on Last Word on Spurs. Lots of fixtures to come. I think it's fair to say that our last week's preview did stir the fire when it came to how Spurs will approach the game and games in general under Ange Postecoglou. When I came off air to that, I had vibrancy of messages from Lee and Jason saying, how dare you even question how we should be playing our football? And poor Ricky did not have enough support on that show. Well, luckily for Rick, I think in Tal and Jason, you've got guests here that are going to most certainly endorse the brand of how we should be playing. That's for sure. Jace, I am going to kick off the show with you. Look, having lost our last 3 straight games, Postecoglou stuck to his tactical principles against the English and European champions. And we're going to say Tottenham, they offered a powerful demonstration of the front foot approach that will earn results in the most toughest of circumstances. And that was a 3-3 draw against City at the Etihad. How do you reflect, Jace, on that result, that performance, and everything that came in that game? Because it was, as always, an absolute all-time classic against Manchester City.
Well, I might be the lucky one that I missed the first 30 minutes of working. So when I came in, I think it was 35 minutes, we were 2-1 down. I think I'd just seen Haaland's open goal miss as, when I was streaming it, whatever. But second half, and I've since we rewatched the game anyway, but second half, just fair play to us to have that bravery, to have that character, to go and do it. I mean, I'm surprised, Rick, because we did the book show about Postecoglou, and I said he went to the Bernabeu with Celtic and played front foot, so he was never going to not go front foot there. And in his whole build up in the week, the way he looked at that journalist and was it, what do you reckon, mate, or something, or have you had a hunch or something? You know that's what he's going to do. And I think there's a difference between not just Postecoglou, what I call philosophy managers that want to play that type of football, and they're not about knee-jerk over one result, whether it be a good result or a bad result. And then maybe the more, I don't know, not the old-fashioned, but a Hodgson, like a Deitch, that will say, right, this is how we need to go and get a result. And they'll change how they play every week to do it. And there's no right or wrong way, in fairness, to get results. But we saw Klopp finish, I think, 6th in his first season, Arteta 8th. Pep, I think, finished 3rd. So it's a case of, look, this is how we're going to play. You're going to have to make mistakes learning to play it. Because if you don't do it and you then start hoofing it long just to get rid of the ball, you are never, ever, ever going to be able to play it. And then the players will instantly think, I'm in trouble, hoof it. You will never get them to play. So that's why I think he done it. I have to say, you know, as mad as it looked at times, the character of those players, Emerson Royal, for instance, he had a pretty shocking first half, Emerson Royal, but he never once went and hid. He knew he would get slated by pundits, fans alike, but not once did he hide, not once did he drop his head. He constantly did what the manager, or tried to do what the manager wants. So, you know, you can have a go at a player like that, but the character and the courage to keep doing it under pressure, there of all places, you know, he should be applauded just for sticking to the plan. And I thought second half, the most amazing bit was, I think we went 35, 36 minutes at the Etihad without conceding a shot on goal.
Yeah.
So even playing that high line, even looking to play out from the back, they still didn't look like, I don't remember Vicario making a save other than the very first minute of the second half when he's short pass. Other than that, I don't think he made a save in the entire half. So to go there and do it with the players missing under that pressure, it took huge, huge balls to do that. And I think now, you know full well, when we go to Anfield and it's Núñez, Salah and such, it's a high line. We're playing Davis, Dyer, whoever's playing. We're playing one way. And we've called for that identity of and a style of football that excites us. And now we've got it. And you can't just go back for one game. And where I disagreed with you is we switched away from it at Wolves and we lost because we were hanging on. And so when people said, you can't go and do it at City, I thought, well, where's the evidence that suggests if we sit back, it's going to be any better? There isn't. We can't get players that can't hang on to sit back and hang on. It's never going to happen. So fair play for everyone and great to see Donnelly come on, even if it was just for 60 seconds or whatever. Fantastic. And to see City snap at the end, brilliant.
I got to say, on that point, Jay, just so I do make reference to the point on the playing of possession and the style of it, my suggestion was, under the circumstances where you've got 11 first-team players out, all I was merely suggesting is that there could be times that you may need to compromise on the style. And contrary to what many people might think, I think Spurs did actually, at times in that game, have to be a little bit more resistant to want to go full on attack, because we saw at half time he made the change with Brian Hill coming off for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and I do think that within that game there were parts of it that Spurs were a little bit more considered in their approach, and that's all I actually asked for. I think on reflection, I don't want to completely change our style, but I think at times during the season, and again, this, I must say, this wouldn't have been a conversation had Tottenham not had 11 players out missing. I don't want to see Tottenham revert to type. I don't want to see Spurs change their identity. No. But my concern is that I think there may be occasions, like the unique circumstances we're going through here, where we may need to, at times, slightly adjust it. I don't want us to change in terms of completely, but I think given the circumstances, that was my only suggestion, that you may, at times, need to be a little bit more, at times, pragmatic. Not that I want us to be, just under the circumstances.
I just thought where we disagreed was, and I could see where you were coming from, but I just thought it's because of the injuries. I don't think you do, because you don't ask Ben Davies and Emerson Royal to sit on the edge of their box and try and defend. If it's Romero and Van der Ven, so be it, but not with makeshift players. And the other bit, even at the end, where Bissouma took so much criticism for doing what he did. And I get the criticism that came his way through turning that, trying to do something positive. Just a few moments later, people forget Oliver Skipp did the same. And we scored the third goal from it. So if Oliver Skipp had gone safe, we'd have lost it 3-2.
Yeah.
But he did it. He did a little pirouette and played around the corner between players. And that's what I think Postecoglou's saying. Be brave with it. You'll make mistakes. I'll take the flak. But don't stop doing it and just hoof it to be safe. And fair play.
Look, I want us to change. I love what we're seeing, and this may continue, please, for sure. Tower, bringing you in. Like I said there, while some people before the Man City game believed that maybe Spurs should be adopting more of a defensive approach, and that was the right way to go, Postecoglou demonstrated really that everyone, the attacking play was rightly so. Spurs came to the Etihad with 11 first-team players out, and really, albeit largely from the outside the bubble, going with Chelsea, Wolves, and Aston Villa, obviously behind and losing those games. How important was that as a vindication, Tal, of the way Tottenham want to play their football?
Luton have just scored, by the way, boys. 1-1.
It could be one of those nights.
Luton 1, Arsenal 1, yep.
Football moves quickly. Go on, Tal. Take us away.
I don't even remember what the question was now. You're so distracted. For God's sake. No, for me, look, I think City is, one of the hardest fixtures in the calendar. But for us, we seem to always get something out of it. And I think what it was that weird balance between, we have good results against City. We know we can win the game and do it regardless of our injury crisis or anything. But coming off the back of those, terrible results, it's almost like, what do we do? And I think where everyone got in their heads and was so pessimistic was because they're so on the front foot, you do need to defend. And we were going to the Etihad with 4 fullbacks as our defensive line, which is a worry. Like, regardless of how you play, if you sit back, you're not going to be successful. Not with those players, bless them. Like, can't fault them, but that's not the approach, right? So we've got to go for it. And I think it was a game of two halves in some ways. I mean, obviously, Sonny straight away off the front foot was great. But other than that, I mean, we were lucky to go in at half time without conceding another 5, weren't we, really? We rode our luck to some degree in that period of the game. But the second half, I think, look, the players said it themselves, didn't they? They got a bit of a bollocking at half time. He said, we know you need to change this, do this, go for it, play football and show them what we can do. We went and did exactly that. And look what happened. They didn't have a shot on target, like you said, for ages. We were superior. We made them look useless. And like we said, that's not our first choice team. And we were away from home with the ball, going for it. And we were exactly that. We were brave. Everyone was together. And we just constantly had that belief that we could go on and get the next goal. And then we could have done exactly that, really. The end was, as we know, slightly chaotic. But there were chances there and we could have done it. So I think overall it was, a great performance, a roller coaster for all of us. I think it was stressful and then it was a bit like, yeah. And then you kind of felt comfortable, dare we say it, away from home to some degree. And it was just a bit like you could kind of preempt that they were going to come back into it as soon as we got that goal. But look, I think it was great. I think we needed it to win, especially with what's coming. We've got a big week. Obviously, what we're going to talk about today, West Ham, followed by Newcastle. Getting a result there helps us, at least spring on to the next. We've got over that lost streak, thank goodness. And hopefully this is the springboard for better things to come. Amen. But it's hard, but we're doing good. We're doing good. I think under the circumstances, look, we love Ange. Everyone knows I love Ange. I think everyone else loves Ange. He knows ball. And, big 2 home games. Let's play. Let's get the noise going. And let's see some points.
I love it, Sal. I love it. Rick, I had deliberately made you wait there because the poor man last week was having to fend off me asking him questions about the style of play, what we're going to do. We had Costa in the background, bless his heart. And I think, again, that show and Christina as well. I think there was a real split across the board on that show in terms of how Spurs should line up. You were vehemently, from your perspective, Rick, sticking to your guns. You said on that show, Spurs will only play one way under Ange. And at Spurs, of course, they lined up again without 11 first-team players, back-to-back defeats by Chelsea, Wolves and Villa. Other managers might have wavered. There may have been some concessions for City's brilliance. But that game, I think, showed us all, Ricks, Postecoglou is not for turning. How proud was you guys up at the Etihad?
Oh, bro, I was overjoyed. I was overjoyed. And I think one of the greatest things about this is that, one, he didn't compromise his tactics. He definitely tweaked them. He definitely tweaked them intelligently. The way that he used Celso to draw out Rodri, the way that he used, obviously the fullbacks to occupy their back three and stuff like that. So that there were tweaks within it, but it didn't change and it didn't sway away from the Ange ball philosophy. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I love about it. And also, it's like with a second string side, you know, we've had a second string side ever since Chelsea, right? Chelsea, we know everything went to pot, and Jace, and this is why I've missed you, Jace, as well, because you're always one to like just keep it calm and tell it how it is, and kind of I can kind of guess you saying in a preview to Chelsea that we're going to kick ourselves up the backside, and we're going to be our worst own enemy, and that's what happened. Do you know what I mean? That's what happened against that. Yeah, well, there you go. I could guess it. I could feel it in my heart, right? The Wolves game, this is what I was saying. The Wolves game, we tried to be pragmatic. We tried to change up the side. Dyer and Højbjerg started that, and it was a little bit slower. It was a little bit more passive. We scored in the first 5 minutes, and then we decided to hold on. And that was more, not a Postecoglou decision. That was more a team decision to be like, okay, let's try and hold this. And it was never going to work. And I think that's a great example. Aston Villa, we should have won that game in the first half. The amount of chances that we had with a second string side against an Aston Villa side that is on the up, that are underdogs, do you know what I mean? That have got a lot to prove and want to prove it. They've got a great side that are growing in confidence week in, week out, but we made them look ordinary. They were lucky to get their 2 goals. We knew it. We could feel it coming because the legs were starting to run out of us towards the end of that game. But you could see that we kind of made them look ordinary. Like we were the threat, throughout that game. And it was going to be one of those. So going into Man City, that's why I was kind of vehemently kind of adamant that like we should stick to our guns and we should still play the same way. First team or second team. What I love about it and what's absolutely stupendously brave about Ange Postecoglou is that not only did he not be pragmatic against Man City, but with the second string Tottenham side with 4 fullbacks in the back 4, he still played his game. And the fact that he rose his demands to drag those second teamers up to the level that he wants, he wasn't compromising. He wasn't compromising for ability. He wasn't compromising because this is how you played under previous managers. If you're in the side, this is the way that you got to play. And the majority of those boys stepped up, and the tweaks worked. The overlapping worked. Even taking off Brian Hill. All right, look, it's easy to defend against Brian Hill. We saw it in the previous game where Aston Villa's defense. All they had to do was kind of stand still. They didn't even have to tackle him. They just had to block him. Do you know what I mean? And or just like nudge him, and he was off the ball, and then you could take the ball. But Brian, in that first half, he was trying to dribble it, and he was trying to play brave as well. He was trying to. He didn't do the simple pass. He tried to do the brave pass. He tried to kind of, twist and turn and not do the obvious one. Try and give it to the man in space. And yes, he was easy to defend against. But look at our manager. Half time, he's like, okay, cool, fine. You come off. We're going to switch Kulu. And Kulu was dynamite in the 10, by the way. The 8/10. I'm loving Kulu in that 8/10 right now. And as long as Maddison's out, I think he should definitely have a go there, because I think he's just so dangerous. And what we say about Kulu on the right is, okay, he's a bit predictable in the sense that we know he's going to switch on to his left. We know where he's going to dribble and stuff like that. But in the centre, those defenders ain't got a clue where he's going. And he's big, he's strong, and he's up for a battle. He doesn't mind riding a challenge. He doesn't mind battling through 2 people and dribbling around, the defense and stuff like that. And City are massive. They're big, they're strong, they're quick, they're technical. They've got everything going for them. But we stood up to them, and that second string lot stood up to them, and our captain Sonny stood up to them, and they all rose the bar to go out there and not feel sorry for themselves. It's easy to feel sorry for yourself in this scenario. It's easy to bring out the excuses. How many times have we been on this show and spoke about excuses? Do you know what I mean? But they didn't draw for no excuse. They didn't look for no excuse. They're like, we're wearing the badge on our chest. We're wearing a cockle on our chest. Let's go out there and show them. And for even the warts and all, the mistakes from Emerson Royale and the fact that they continue to play and it didn't drop their heads, like Jason said, like it didn't put a dampener on them. Look at their reaction. Look at Man City's reaction to when we scored, and look at our reaction to the way when they scored. Do you know what I mean? It was totally different. You know, Man City sat off. They sat back. They didn't really want to go for it straight away. Do you know what I mean? After the first one, you know, after that first free kick and Sonny's own goal, but they kind of didn't want to go for it. But every time that we conceded, we never dropped our heads. It didn't stop us. And this is what the manager's saying: we never stop. We never stop believing. Do you know what I mean? Like, we never stop running. We never stop believing. And we continue to fight. Do not worry about the scoreline. Do not worry about the clock. Do not worry about how much extra time you've got. Keep going until the very last whistle. And you never know what can happen in this game. And that's what's beautiful about football, bro.
I remember, man. I mean, many of them suggesting, Rick, you were in there doing that half-time team, so which changed the way that game played. Because I've got to say, you know, on the half-time team, and, you know, again, the ever-running Dejan Kulusevski. I mean, it just shows how much of a talented player he is because, like Rick has said, to drop into that position which Maddison has been filling really is true testament to the skillful nature of the guy. And I think Kulusevski is one of those players that, in my opinion, is really an unsung hero of the team. I think some, when they see, you know, what he doesn't bring in terms of goals and assists, sometimes don't realise the amount of running he does, both in and out of possession. I mean, Jace, how much credit do you think Kulusevski deserves in terms of the fact that he is able to almost now adapt his role slightly into becoming in that number 8? And, you know, again, we talk about players that in the past that maybe have been on the periphery of things, but I think Kulusevski is one of those Spurs players that ultimately, when you take him out of the Tottenham team, we're a weaker team for it. Do you feel like that as well, Jace? And we have to unmute Jace.
Yeah, without a doubt. He, you know, his strength and fitness levels are ridiculous. I wish, you know, the perfect footballer of Kulu has an extra yard of pace or something, but his technical abilities, so strong on the ball, forward thinking all the time. And I think he himself prefers to play, from what he's said over the last few. I think he wants to play more centrally, but he always gives us that balance on the other side. You know, he loves going to the. I saw somebody call it what the Deki had. I quite like that. At the Deki had, fair play, and he just the desire to get in and make that header. And you know, we said it, I think, in the group today. So much Premier League football is done with running, and people, when you talk about that of players, they just always think about it as defensive running, you know, of chasing back. But it isn't. It is making runs to drag people out of position. It is, you know, making blindside runs and constantly showing for the ball, making sure you run into space to get it and that. And he's having a really good season, Kulu. We all want him to up his goal output a little bit. Of course we do. You always want more from players. But at the moment, he's I thought he had an excellent game against Villa in that number 10 more central role, and he's followed that up.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, it's one of those shows where, again, there's a lot going into it ahead of, obviously, West Ham to come. And Tal, I think by the fact that Spurs picked up just the 1 point from a possible 12 since the injuries hit, I think tells you a lot about where we would have been had we kept a lot of these players fit that have been missing. But we've arguably gained some options.
Rick, I just want to say one thing. It's not all injuries, is it?
It's not?
There's one idiot suspended.
Well, there is, and he's coming out of suspension for this next game. We're going to come on to him very shortly. I promise you we will. But Tal, you know, when I talk about the fact they're just 1 point from possible 12 before those injuries hit, we're looking at players that really have emerged. And one of them, I can't believe what I'm saying, this has been Giovanni Celso. Now, I felt a lot of us felt there was a player in there, but it's whether we were going to see that player at Tottenham in the Premier League, always the big question. So, but the fact now that we've seen back-to-back goals for him, how crucial do you think that is for his confidence and whether he is now going to really rival Maddison potentially for a starting berth when he comes back? Because I think Lo Celso, it appears one of those players that really, you need to play him into form. I think when he first came on the scene at Tottenham and we gave him that permanent contract, that was off the back of a fairly stretch of a number of games. It might have been 4 or 5. We didn't see him after that period, but I think that kind of tells you that with Lo Celso, he's a player that needs to play game upon game to get confidence. can you see maybe a massive impact at Tottenham, or is this a one-off in terms of what we're seeing right now from him?
I don't necessarily think it's a one-off, but I don't think he's going to rival Madders when he comes back. I think we're getting in our heads a bit about it because he's the only thing we've got available. I think Deki being in that more central role has really helped in. I think they've linked together quite well, which has been great. And look, we discussed this a couple of weeks ago with these players, second stringers, whatever you want to call them. You know, they're all low on confidence because they've not played games. The more games they play, the more confidence they get in, whether it's results based or not. They're getting to know how each other play. You hear each other on the pitch. It's different. Yeah, you train together, but being in that on pitch environment, the way that you communicate is different. The pressure's different. The crowd is different. And we've got this same collective team now that have played multiple games. So I think over time, that is obviously a benefit to us because there is consistency. But saying that, look, he scored 2 in 2. That is amazing. You know, we needed both those goals regardless of anything. So that is great to see. And I think overall, look, he's looked really calm and composed. And I think a lot of these players and quotes that have come out recently as well is like, they're all in, whether they're playing every week or they're coming on as a sub or doing whatever the hell they need to do. They're all bought into the same thing. And you can see that on the pitch. You know, they come in, they don't question anything and they just go for it. And I think, you know, you've got to give him credit. Gio's done a great job. He's come in, he's not had the minutes. A lot of players don't get 2 out of 2. And they've been great goals as well, great finishes. You know, you can't take that away from him. And I think it was lovely, like being at that home game when he scored and his name coming up. Like, you didn't really think that was going to happen. And to see that, I think that must have given him such a, you know, a real serotonin boost because, you know, he just wanted to get on the pitch, let alone make the impact and score the goal and see his name come up to all the home fans. Like, that was everything. And then, you know, to do it again, next game away from home, that's great. So, look, I think let's not push it with Madders. Madders is Madders. And we keep saying how we miss him because we do. So I don't think he is a like-for-like replacement in that respect. But I think he has been fab, and let's hope he keeps it up, and with every game he gets stronger, more confident, and can help the team in whatever capacity regardless of injuries.
I mean, just on Matters, as we're on that subject very quickly, there has been a recent interview done by Prime Video Sport, obviously Amazon Prime, ahead of the West Ham United game. He was an outline of where we are. There were suggestions that maybe he may be out longer than anticipated, but if you watch that interview from Maddison, clearly states that as things stand at the moment, I think we're looking at, again, a January return. Again, I wouldn't want to put a time frame on that because Spurs and injuries, I think we all know, difficult to predict. But I don't think anything has really changed with relation to that injury at the moment, timescale-wise. Again, look, who knows? It's Tottenham. Maddison has said himself, it's, you know, slower than maybe what it might have been. But again, I want to put a time frame on that. Let's just hope we have him back as soon as possible. Rix, I do want to ask you about Heung-min Son. I think Heung-min Son is always a player you are so complimentary about here on Last Word on Spurs. I know for sure, look, listeners and viewers love it. I know our South Korean contingent, bless them, that watch and listen to this show. Thank you so much for your support. I know, again, they're obviously rightly so in their adoration of Heung-min Son. Again, a real captain performance of him against Manchester City. When you consider now for Son, that goal away at the Etihad was his 50th Premier League away goal. He's had 50 at home, 50 away, and he also provided 50 assists for the team. Is he really showing that leadership as a captain that you need? Roy Keane said after the game that with Sonny, you know, he doesn't need to be a shouter or a massive, real loudspeaker. Even though Maddison said he actually is louder than what you would imagine him to be, because he's talking on the pitch. Is that fair, Rix?
Absolutely, bro. I mean, Sonny is a phenomenal player, and I think that because he's been with us for so long, I think we kind of take some of his great efforts and some of his great attributes for granted almost. I don't think we kind of pay them enough attention. If he was in another team, if he was in the Liverpool side or something, we'd be waxing lyrical about him, you know, and we'd be talking about his off-the-ball runs. We'd be talking about him dragging people out of position so that others can get into the box. We'd be talking about, you know, not only does he play hard and play fast, but he plays with a smile on his face, you know. I think he's a great example to the young ones that are around him, and I think he's a great example to his teammates. They all look to Sonny and listen to Sonny, and I think that, you know, if anybody, if anybody who's going to help fill the gap of, and it's a big gap and it's a big pair of shoes of Harry Kane, it was Heung-min Son. You know, again, I've said this before and here is, you know, when Harry wanted to go Man City, well, who stepped up and signed a new contract? Son. Sonny done it straight away. He was like, okay, fine, I'll have the responsibility. I'll step up. I'll be the man. And what did he do in that game? That first game where Harry Kane couldn't play against Man City because his head wasn't there, Sonny played and Sonny scored. You know, this season, you know, it was come see, come saw whether Harry was going to stay in, and who knows where Tottenham was going to go after last season, after the last couple of seasons. Who knows where we was going to go? I think as a fan base, we probably felt that we was going to be, you know, sinking a bit like the Titanic. Do you know what I mean? But not Sonny. You know, Saudi Arabia, a massive bid coming for him. He could have gone and kind of got yachts and Lamborghinis and Ferraris, and he could have had waiters, and he could have been earning stupid money. He could have been earning bars of gold every bloody well week. But what did he say? And he said it straight away. He said, no, I ain't going nowhere. I've got a lot more to do in the Premier League, and I've got a lot more to kind of achieve with Tottenham Hotspur. He loves us. We love him. And to have somebody that kind of embraces all of the values that us as fans have, as well as be a phenomenal player, I think we need to give him a lot more credit. I think we take him for granted sometimes. And I think that we have to remember as well the amount of space that we gave Harry Kane, okay, in the sense of he didn't used to score in August. So all of us as a fan base, we didn't question it. We accepted it. Yeah, well, it's August. Of course he's not going to score in August. I'll leave him. It's all right. It'll come good. Because at the end of the season, Harry would probably have 30 goals. So you can't really argue with not scoring in August, right? So it's the same right now with Sonny. You know, if he has a dip or if there's something going on, do you know what I mean? From what we see on the cameras, it doesn't look like he has a great game. You can't just get on his case like that. You have to look at him as an all-round player. In the wins and in the losses, do you know what I mean? How does he act? How does he hold himself? How does he kind of get the rest of the players to step up to that type of mark? The class, the integrity, you know, just because they're a rival doesn't mean you can't shake their hand and give them a smile. And that's what Sonny does. And even our biggest rivals, the Gooners, they love him. They can't. Everybody loves Sonny. Why is that? Because he gives them love and respect, regardless of who they are and who they're playing. Do you know what I mean? So big up to Sonny. Long may it continue. I love him in the number 9 position. I want him to stay there. That's his position right now. I don't want him back on the left anymore. I think he's our number 1, number 9, and he's our captain going forward. And I think he represents not only the club but us fans phenomenally. So thank you, Sonny, and keep it going, my friend.
What a speech. What a speech. Heung-min Son there from the wonderful Ricky Norwood. You know what, Jace, coming over to you. The risk of playing Postecoglou's football were nevertheless on display in that game against Man City. Basuma really the prime chief of it, caught in possession, trying to play out ahead of Jack Grealish's 81st minute goal. Now, you know, I've obviously not had the benefit of having you on this show, Jace, for a few weeks. So this is fresh. I'm asking you this. What has happened in your opinion to Yves Basuma? I asked it obviously after the game against Man City to the guys and the girls. And I think at the moment we're just trying to understand why there's been this sudden dip in form since the Luton game, where I think in the build-up to then, obviously we knew he had this one game potential suspension hanging over him, but he's back now. He's fresh, he's free. So can you put your finger on, Jace, what is happening with Basuma at the moment? Is it the fact that Maddison isn't alongside him? Is it tactical? Could it be something that's maybe happening off the pitch? Can you put your finger on why we're not seeing the player that we did see 5-6 weeks of the season?
It's probably a combination of lots of things. I mean, he was playing regularly, and then since Luton, it's been very bitty, hasn't it? Sent off against Luton, comes back, gets booked, misses the next game, comes back. It's just a little bit bitty. I think he has come into he's now into a totally different midfield than the one he started the season. Don't forget, it's not just Maddison now missing, it's Papsar. I mean, the energy that boy puts in as well. So, you know, some of the forward passes, Maddison's not onto them. It's just a little dynamic. I don't think it's anything major. It's just probably bits and pieces of a number of things. And then obviously defensively, he now hasn't got his 2 proper centre-backs behind him as well. So maybe you think, I can't quite take that risk there because I haven't got Mickey behind me to chase people down. But I don't think there's a major major problem. As I said, yeah, he had an easy ball. He took the positive option. It cost us. Just learn from it, like you should learn from your silly sending off at Luton. Go forward from there. But I don't want to jump on the backs of people when they're so bought into a system and they're being told to play. And at the end of the day, we're 13 games into it, or what is it? We've played 13 or 14 Premier League games. We're 13 games into it. And I don't mean it in a disrespectful way to Arteta, but he finished 8th and 8th. He's now 120 odd Premier League games into it. So, it's bound to take time. You will see up and down. I compare it to Potty's first season as well, when we lost at home to West Brom and I think we struggled to beat Southampton. We lost at home to Stoke. We lost at home to Villa. But then we put 5 past Chelsea. And so I think you will get peaks and troughs in the season. There'll be times when I think we'll go to a Brighton or someone like that, get beat 4-0 type of thing, and it will look horrendous and there'll be the knee jerk. But it's just part of the learning curve that you have to go through. And like I say, you will never learn to play that football unless you keep persevering to play it. And the moment you go safety first is the moment you stop learning how to play it. So you're going to have to take a few punches on the chin along the way, but you will get there.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, you mentioned there the fact that, Jace, look, the season itself will play itself out in terms of how that will go and how we'll navigate it. As we record at the moment with Tottenham Hotspur, we are currently 5th in the Premier League table, 27 points. When you look at how clutched up that table is to some degree, Spurs at the moment, they are a couple of points off the top 4. Aston Villa currently occupying that spot. It shows you what a critical weakness is for Tottenham. Of course, Newcastle United, just a point difference there between the two as we play them on the Sunday. So, for Spurs, it's really, really important over this period that Tottenham do try. And obviously, naturally in football, get as many points as possible, because now we're coming into that business part of the season, the Christmas period. And then when you consider the fixtures Spurs have got to come, West Ham, of course, coming up, which is our next one we're going to be previewing very, very shortly. Newcastle United on the Sunday. Then after that, we've got Forest, Everton, Brighton. All tough games on paper, Tal, coming over to you. You look at those, you've got Newcastle, a proper top 4 battle. Forest away, you may suggest that game might be slightly easier. But again, who knows where Forest may be, whether they may stack Steve Cooper beforehand, whether the fans will be galvanised. Because again, a Friday night under the lights of Forest won't be easy. Everton at home. Well, Everton now fighting for their lives following that points deduction. They've got renewed optimism under Sean Dyche. And then Brighton away on December the 28th. Never an easy place to go, despite the fact Spurs have got a fairly strong record away at the MX. Just how crucial, Tal, would his next, 4 or 5 fixtures be in the reality of where Spurs finish this season for you?
I mean, every game is just as important as the next, right? I think we've all said this many, many times before. There's no easy game in the Premier League, and the points at the end of the day are what counts. And I think we just have to take each game as it comes. I think, we were all on the biggest high ever, loving life, and think about how quickly things can change like they did in Chelsea. Everything just unraveled before our eyes. So I feel like it's so hard now to just think ahead and, the bigger picture stuff. But every game is completely vital because the teams around us are winning. They're winning. And if we don't win, we will fall. And look, it's a project and we all have to take this properly. And I know we've discussed this loads of times before. I think everyone was really carried away because we started so well. And it was when we lose. And then obviously I think not many of us expected our season to crash, fall over and roll down the hill as it did, all within, 90 minutes. But since then, it's been hard, right? It's been hard. But like I said, I think these players now building a connection and playing side by side consistently. The fixtures are, as you just said, piling up. They're going to play together a lot more. If we don't have any more injuries, which we really can't afford, and any other players that are suspended or coming back or whatever, we have to play to win. And that's it. I don't think we can start getting on the train and all of that again about where we're going to finish and whatever else.
You mean we can't have a crazy? You mean no more crazy train?
You mean he's not going to get his didgeridoo out anymore?
He's not. I mean, look, I think I tried to crash the train too early, didn't I? Before any of this, I was like, slow the bloody train down.
Ricky's the one wearing the skates here, right? Keep it on the ice. Keep it checking.
Right.
You make a valid point there, Tal. I mean, I think, again, like, just to let you come back in on this point, do you think, again, Adam is going by game now, again, getting players, I think, again, as you said there, you know, every game over this period between now and Christmas is going to be absolutely vital because, like you said there, you can't really afford to lose. The teams behind us now, it's such a bunch of teams around the top of that league that there's some really serious competition now. And I think Jason puts this always the case that, you know, Europe was going to play a massive factor into where teams are going to finish this season. You've got Villa, of course, in the Europa League. You've got Brighton in Europe as well. You know, West Ham in Europe as well. Newcastle, of course, we're not sure whether they'll stay in the Champions League, whether they'll dip into the Europa League. Do you feel that is also going to have a massive effect on proceedings, Tal, for you?
Of course. I mean, but look, it's a squad game at the end of the day, and that is why the cities, etc., do so well because they balance it and they've got all of these incredible players, and they can play a strong team midweek. They can play a strong team every 3 days because they rotate and they're still unbelievable. Whereas a few injuries hits aside and you're in big trouble. You know, we all said this was the first time we looked at our bench at the beginning of the season and thought we've actually got players to come on for the first time in years. We were like, this is great. There are genuine players. But you know, however many weeks is what you said, what game are we on? 12, 13, 14, whatever. Now look at our bench. We have 3 or 4 kids, 2 keepers. Think how drastically that changes. So there's so many factors that contribute to stuff. And I just think you can't control what you can't control. And I think Ange is very good at that. He looks at what he's got and he doesn't want to sit and moan and be like, oh, I've got this, I've got no players. Like we've seen with Mourinho and everyone else, you know, there was just excuse after excuse. If Liverpool got, you know, an injury, Klopp, oh, the wind does this and I've got no players. And they just constantly moan. Ange, like, don't worry, mate. Like, we're fine. He's that outlook. So I just think that's exactly what he's doing. He's got a bunch of players. He doesn't see them as players that, you know, don't start or aren't worthy, whatever. He's like, these are the players I've got. They're all buying into my philosophy. And I'm going to put the best 11 that I can out every game to go and win the game. That happens, great. If it doesn't, it's a learning curve. And I think we all just have to sometimes put a little bit of perspective. Everyone loves Ange. This is his first role in the Premier League. We're very early on. And we have been royally fucked over, no offense, by these injuries. And I think we all keep saying the same thing. If we had a fit team, if everyone was fit, we would have buried Chelsea in that first half alone. We would have scored those 5 chances against Villa that we should have, you know, killed off in the first half. And, you know, obviously you can't say that for sure, but we know and all believe that, you know, we are on to something good. And I still generally believe that. And I think that every game's an opportunity to impress, keep your place and gel and learn. So he's doing that just as much as the players are. So every game is important, but let's go for it and see where the hell we end up. But just as important.
No, I agree. I agree.
Tales is right because despite the number of injuries we got, we slaughtered Villa.
We did.
You know, we should have won. I mean, if
we were clinical,
we hit the inside of the post twice. You know, Udogie and Kulu in the first 3 or 4 minutes, we should be 2-0 up.
Yeah.
You know, Sonny's one that he put over the bar, although I think that might have got flags. But we played so well against Villa. I had no annoyance when I left that ground against Villa. I came out of that Villa game feeling really positive about it and thought, if our B team can play like this against a European chasing team and everyone's saying Villa, because on another day like that, you do take your chances. And yeah, maybe City do that to us on Sunday and we don't get a 3-3. But I think you look at the chances we're getting, even with that team, you think, actually, you know, it's not a big problem, all the missing players. I think the key missing player is Mickey. Mickey's a massive miss.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive miss. And I think he's almost become a bigger miss than Maddison because we are creating chances. We do look a goal threat constantly. It's Mickey's the big one for me. Really
I genuinely agree as well because I think, look, of course it's a huge miss up front, but we do have enough quality to score the goals. And even with players like Gio, etc., coming in, they're scoring. But our back line, no one wants to play a back line of 4 fullbacks. That's, you know, not a choice that anyone wants to do. And to say we are still fighting and putting in the results is fantastic. It is just that clinical, we've just got to work on being more clinical and just, we're on the way, right? I think that's the thing. You just got to think we're on the right path and we're building something special, and everyone believes that. So it's just take each game, keep working, and it will come.
And you know what? Just on the back of both of your points there, I think it's so much more important to continue the philosophy or to continue playing this way in the bad times. It was great in the first 10 games. Everybody could get behind it. But like Jace was saying earlier, and T was saying a bit earlier as well, it's like, if you really want to implement this system throughout the squad, how many times have we dropped a B team in a cup game? Let's not talk about it. In Europe, let's not talk about it.
Not again.
Let's not talk about it. And they haven't been up to par, right? So if we've got this second string side and you're dragging them up to par and you're demanding that they step up to the game, and to the way of play, that's going to serve us for the long run even better. So when somebody else does drop out, somebody else can just slip in and they know what's required of them. They know what Ange wants, and they know if they want to stay in the team that this is what they have to do. That's more important than kind of shutting up shop. It's a braver decision to play Emerson Royal as the right centre-back than chucking in Dyer and kind of going, all right, you're the experienced bod. We know that you're tough on the half turn. We know that pace can beat you up. Do you know what I mean? We know this, we know that, but you're the experienced guy. Let's go back. Let's shore it up. Let's put you in there because you're the experienced one. No. It's an even braver decision with all of the injuries, with all of the circumstance, with the suspensions and everything else, that he puts Emerson Royal in there and he demands that they play the same way, regardless of personnel. That is going to serve us for not just today, but for seasons to come. And that's where it's important.
Oh, man, I do agree.
Everyone.
Yeah, I do agree. Just on the point, many asking, has the Romero discussion happened yet? That's because Jason's back here. All I will say is, look, it's all about Romero and injuries. Where we stand at the moment is Tottenham will start to get some of those players back now in this week ahead. Now, I think King Hoddle made a wonderful point here. King Hoddle, wonderful viewer, listener, regular on Last Word on Spurs, says Romero's return means we'll have 8 of our best 11 available. Just Van der Ven, Madders and Rodrigo missing. 3 players naturally, obviously, a big loss to Tottenham. Now, all eyes will be back on maybe Romero because we expect him to return to the West Ham game. Now, I think I have to say this, and Jace, don't shoot me for saying this, that if Romero picks up another red card for violent conduct, he will then miss 4 matches. And look, I think the case of the matter is here, from all the guests that we've had on Last Word on Spurs over these last few weeks, there's a general consensus here, Jace, that Romero has some payback, some reward to give Spurs fans, because ultimately we've lost him at the element, would say, most crucial part of the season, because we've missed him for some massive games where naturally just having his status there at the back would have been massive for Tottenham. Do you think Romero will switch back into the Romero that we saw in those opening 6-7 games? And do you think he can just come back in naturally, having obviously lost the last 3 weeks?
I think he might be back to that first 6 weeks for 1 or 2 games, and then he'll be charging around and playing the thug again. It's up there. He doesn't need to do it, but we all know that. I think if let's be honest, I always look at it from the other side point of view. Who have we got at Newcastle? Callum Wilson is exactly the type of person that can wind Romero up. Just a sly little dig, and then he will react. They've got a couple of Brazilians, haven't they? Bruno and Joe Linton. We know how he did it with Richarlison. We know how Richarlison wound him up when he was at Everton. So sadly, I think that's going to be there. And when I've seen this week, or the pictures of him looking at Matty Cash, or maybe that's camera angle in fairness, but people saying, oh, I hope he does. What, and go to Villa and get sent off and be down to 10 men, lose the game and lose him for 4 games, and we lose out in the Champions League place to Villa because Romero's equalled up Matty Cash. I mean, it's ridiculous. The bloke's got to stay on the pitch. We all know he is our best defender, has been for a number of years, but you can only be our best defender if you're on the pitch. So stay on the pitch. Just show a little bit of composure and leadership and things. And the Chelsea game, for me, the problem came when he had that little, I think he had a little knocked off the ball by Colwell at the other end of the pitch, and he had a little flick at him, and it's as if his ego thought, You're not doing that to me. I'm a harder man than you. And it stays there. And sadly, it never. Once it's in there, that's it for the game. And I can remember saying to the bloke next to me, "We're in trouble because Romero's wound up." And I could see what was going to happen come in. And people can argue whether it should be a sending off or shouldn't be. But we know in today's game from the Curtis Jones tackle on Bissouma, that's a red card. So, you know, and it is inside him. It is inside him. He has to use his brain a lot more because he has the talent and everything to be a top-class defender. But you've got to sort that out because you can't be missing 8, 9, 10 games a season without it costing your team.
Yeah, I think we all hope Romero will have learned his lesson. I think, look, in fairness, to try and bring a bit of balance, that was the first time under Ange that he's let us down, right? I think, as many are suggesting the fact as well, that Romero's temperament before that Chelsea game had been fine. But I think the key, Jace, you see there is that he's got to keep it in check. He has to keep it in check. It's a massive period now where you need your best players available. And no doubt, as you said there, Jace, he's the best defender at the club alongside Mickey. And that is where the damage has been done. Now, on the injury front, Spurs have to also be wary that Destiny Udogie is on 4 yellow cards as things stand. He's 1 away from yet another one-match ban. Both Pierre Højbjerg and Pat Matassar currently sit on 3 bookings apiece, just so I let everyone where the lie of the land is at the moment. Sarr, we expect to return later this week. Richarlison, of course, made his return, obviously, in that game against Man City, where, look, again, we'll see how he'll get minutes throughout this period. Ryan Sessegnon, for those that have forgotten Ryan, bless him, he's edging towards the latter stages of rehabilitation. I think Ricky's collapsed. I thought Ricky went there, bless him.
He's been in the Priory rehabbing for 5 years.
What even happened to him? I don't even remember. It was so long ago.
I'll be honest, guys. I've lost track of where we are with Ryan. Listen, who knows where Ryan's going to be at the moment, the way things are. January when they're coming along. Jason loves it. Mona Solomon, of course, he's also making progress in his recovery. Rodrigo Bentancur still looking at February. But yeah, I think in the coming weeks, Spurs, fingers crossed, will get some players back. And it's going to be an interesting period. It really is. Spurs, the games are coming thick and fast. Where we are going to go next, we are going to go for our final break of this show for our listeners on audio. Taking you into that break, you're going to hear from West Ham Fan TV's Dan Lawler's very own, who gives us their view ahead of this London derby to come. As Jason vehemently asked me why I mentioned Ryan Sessegnon on an injury update. Now, just guys, I must bring you this lovely bit of information that we want to put out there to the Spurs community. That last one on Spurs, I'm delighted to be bringing you just some information about Literacy Pirates now. Literacy Pirates, who are they? What do these guys do? Well, listen, they are based next to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They help local young children 9 to 12 that are falling behind in school and have fewer opportunities in their personal lives. They run an after-school program from pirate-themed spaces to help children develop their reading and writing skills and also have the confidence, perseverance. So when they make mistakes or face challenges, they can pick themselves up and keep on going. They rely wholly on volunteers to work one-to-one in small groups with children to help them practice reading and writing and provide that encouragement. They are currently looking for more volunteers as they strive to help even more children improve their literacy, confidence and perseverance. That programme runs from 3:45 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. Monday to Friday. And it's worth me saying that volunteers don't need any experience and full training is provided. You can email them at volunteering@literacypirates.org and also head over to their website, literacypirates.org, where you can read more about the fantastic work there that is happening. So guys, Literacy Pirates, right near the Spurs Stadium. Do your bit for the community. Go and check these wonderful, wonderful human beings out. Thank you so much. Right, West Ham to come. West Ham to come. We made the joke that these guys have been here for a lot of London derbies on last one on Spurs. I won't age them. I won't tell how many times they've been on for London derbies. We're going to keep them young. We've got one that's starting on BBC, for God's sake. Keep him fresh. Keep him fresh, they say. Right, West Ham to come.
Jason used to have hair. Go on.
He bloody did 8 years ago before the start of this. And it was 4 a.m. as well. We were making up for it, bless his heart. I'm glad you said it, Rick, not me. Right, Jason, we'll start with you for West Ham. Look, it's always a game, can I say, one of the most toughest home games for me of the season, West Ham. They always come ready for it, up for it under David Moyes. And although the fact, look, you look at the fact West Ham's winning run, they came to an end on the weekend with that draw at home to Crystal Palace. West Ham have shown real resilient courage and spirit under David Moyes. Of course, winning your wonderful Conference League title that you dare not mention on Last Word on Spurs, the checker trade you named, of course, last season. They are a side that are difficult to play against. How do you see this one lining up? Any concern, Jace, West Ham coming to town? Is it one of those fixtures made for what will be a Thursday night under the lights?
I think we'll play our way. I think it will be similar to the Villa game. We'll have far more chances than they do. The one thing you know with West Ham and that you have got to get right is they'll play for corners, they'll play for set pieces, and JWP will bend them around. So if you're giving sloppy free kicks away on the edge of the box, and it cost us against Villa with a sloppy push in the back right on half time, if they're going to get set pieces, make them earn them. Don't do stupid things and present them, because I always feel that that's West Ham's biggest thing, is they're a set piece team, and then you get the odd moment from Bowen, who's a decent player, not a great player, but he's a decent player. Bowen, he can certainly hurt you. But other than that, I think the chances will be ours. We just have to take them. But all this, I mean, every time I hear them on the telly, they're singing that they're the champions of Europe, and I thought we played them Sunday, didn't we? Champions of Europe. I mean, it's truth of life. When you win the checker trade and call yourself the champions of Europe, I mean, no wonder they play in the council tip. I know that. Awful mob.
Every time Rick goes back, I think he's fallen over. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Wait till I ask him the question. Well, he's got a killer question coming.
Is he just representing how far West Ham will be down the table after we finish with them potentially on Thursday night? We hope so. Tal, bringing you in. West Ham, look, they're still sitting in a respectable position, 9th in the table, only 3 points behind the top 7, 6 adrift to Spurs going into the game. They've conceded 8 goals in their last 3 Premier League away games, all against mid-table sides. Look, Tal, seems to get older, home for you. You've witnessed a lot of West Ham, Tottenham games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. How do you personally see this one playing out for you? Is there a concern going into it? Because for me personally, I always think West Ham always raise their game for this fixture.
It's their cup final, isn't it? Simple as it's their cup final, and they show up every time they come to our gaff thinking they're champions of Europe and anything else in between. They're just up for it. That's the thing. And not to compare it to, because obviously Chelsea's a much bigger fixture for us, but it's that similar mindset, whereas they come to win, and we often just don't match that. And it does sometimes come down to attitude. And I just think, this could come back to massively bite me in the arse here, but I feel like under Ange, we're not like that anymore. And we do have the belief that we'll win. And I don't have much ground to say that based on our nut job mindset at Chelsea. But I just think this time, you'd like to think it would play out differently. I think we are much better than them. They're not having a great season. They've got moments of good within them, but we're a much better side. And if we are clinical with our chances, I do believe that we should be able to beat them. But you never know, really. I think we just have to, you can't underestimate anyone, right? But I think we just can't underestimate them when they come, because they'll be up for it no matter what. They'll be up for it. Their fans will be up for it. Yep. And we've just got to show up and play ball. That's the thing. And I think that hopefully off the back of City, the players will think that, and they'll be like, yep, come on, we can push forward. We're at home. And, we should be able to finish those chances, and hopefully we can. But it's never an easy fixture for me. No fixture is, but it's not easy. But Antonio is out, isn't he? Still as well.
He is indeed. Yes, he is.
Out. I mean, he just loves scoring against us. So at least that's one less person that has the potential to score. So that's always a positive. But I agree. I think set pieces are where we're in trouble, because we know that Ward-Prowse is brilliant, and sadly we are not the best defenders from dead ball situations. So stay switched on, and let's hope we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely. You mentioned that point about, obviously, Mikel Antonio, Tal, there. And, they've had little success, really, in recent London derbies. They've lost 9 of their last 10 in the Premier League, including a 2-0 defeat at Tottenham in February. The only exception during that run was a slender 1-0 win over Fulham back in April. Now, look, they'll reminisce, obviously, by the fact that you said there, Tal, Mikel Antonio's goal condemning Spurs their first ever home defeat at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. For West Ham, they've failed to win on each of their last 4 visits recently, and that includes them being 3 defeats in a row there. Interestingly, look, Spurs obviously going into that game, they are unbeaten in 5 against West Ham, winning the 4. It won't be easy, but I think we have to back ourselves on the back of that City performance where, I don't mean this disrespectfully by saying this, but I feel like unless we get a win against West Ham, that really, really disrupts the rhythm of just how important that point was against City. Because I think, look, we're coming off the back of 3 defeats. We've got a vital point. That now, Jason, needs to kickstart really where obviously we want to be. But Rick, if I want to bring you in, team news ahead of this one. We know Romero will be back for Tottenham. Sarr will hopefully be fit as well. We're going to have an update from Ange Postecoglou in a pre-match presser before the game. You'd imagine both of them should start. Emerson Royale, Brian Hill, likely to drop out. Celso, you'd imagine, will keep his spot after scoring, obviously, in as many games now against City. Elsewhere, we know Mickey van der Ven, Rodrigo Bentancur, James Maddison, Manor Solomon, Ivan Perisic are out. Eric Dyer, doubtful, but based on, as we've said recently, can't really see Dyer featuring in this one. As Tal said, Mikel Antonio, he remains sidelined. It remains to be seen whether Kurt Zuma...
3 Luton! 3-2 Luton! Oh!
Come on.
You know what? This is it. Can I just say, for those that...
Barkley as well. He hasn't kicked the ball in years.
You know what? An unbelievable scenes here. This is one when you're recording live during the pre-Premier League midweek matches, it can all kick off. So Luton currently beating Arsenal. You'll know we haven't given you coverage through the game because of where we are right now in terms of our table position and where they are. But it could be a really special night down at Luton. Rick, let me come back round to you. Injuries there, I'm going to read them out to you. West Ham's form going into this one. Rick, how do you see this playing out for you?
Right. So, for me, I think just to add a little bit of balance to West Ham, and I don't want to give them credit. I don't. I think, every time that we play them, it's one of the most annoying games that that I end up watching. But they spent the Declan Rice money well. Edison Alvarez in midfield off of that they took from Ajax. Now, if you've seen Ajax's drop off, a lot of that is to do with Alvarez being in midfield and also Kudus. Kudus is a dynamite player. I wish we would have signed him. I think he's a box of tricks. I think he's strong. I think he's quick. I think Ange would have loved him as well. They've got Jared Bowen up there as well, who at times has flashes of brilliance. As T said there, it's their cup final, so they're always up for it. They always know that a result against Tottenham can do, it's something that they love to do, and it's something that their fans love to see as well. So it's not going to be easy. But saying that, we do have a better side. We do have a better squad. We do have a better way of playing. And like T said there, we have to kind of build on the performance after Man City. And it's not just that. It's not just the performance after Man City, but it's after Aston Villa. Aston Villa was a good performance up until the end. We didn't get the result, so we have to learn that lesson. Man City, we've gone there against the European champions. Jace, you crack me up, mate. I can't deal with you, bruv. But we've gone up against Man City, right? We won everything last year. I know, it cracks me up, man. I love Jace. Jace, I've missed you so much.
Champions of Europe,
Oh, mate, you crack me up. So yes, we've had a great game against Man City, right? And we've played the same way, and we've shown fight, and then never say stop. Go on, Jace.
That's like Ricky saying, on his dancing on ice thing, he's the Olympic champion, isn't it? I mean, what are you on about?
He bloody will be at the end of it. He bloody will be.
It's just one half a tour of Villandini, isn't it? Look, I mean. Truth alive.
It's 3-3. It's 3-3.
I blame him in the sequin suit for that. He cost me there.
Look, let's get back to West Ham. Quickly.
Take us back, Rick. Take us back, my man.
So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a battle, and I would not be surprised. A bit like Richarlison on Sunday, who I don't think any of us expected to be on the bench, for Antonio to be on that damn bench and come on in the last 5 minutes. I think it's going to be a battle, but I think with the momentum and with the belief that playing that way with second stringers or with players that have to prove a point, is giving them a sense of confidence that if they can do it against them, then they can do it against anybody. And this is where the lessons come from. This is where it's important not to change your way, or not to change your philosophy, or not to adapt from it, because, you know, it serves us at the end of the day. So I see us going in there, and I see us it being a battle until the end, as it always is. Is Lanzini fit? Because that's another one we've got to watch out for, because he suddenly, you know,
he's gone,
he doesn't.
Lanzini.
Is he gone? Thank goodness for that
he went
one,
in,
mate.
I think he went in the summer, or maybe even last January or something. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
He only was
right,
there
cool.
when he played us. The bloke never turned
That's what
up
I'm
from anyway.
I didn't see him throughout the season, apart from when he played us. But anyway,
It happens to so many teams. They just come out when they play us.
The last time I saw Lanzini, he was at Celso's COVID party.
Oh,
and he's not joking. He's not joking either.
I'm joking. No,
I know,
No.
but you know, also there was a point there that Jason picked up on there about kind of free kicks and corners. And the one thing that we have done from game one is give away corners, but we can see corners. The amount of shots that we have, you know, Vicara, for all of his strengths and for all of his brilliance, when he does save now, when he was in Italy, he used to parry into the box. And that's one of my things that I was worried about. But now he parries around the post, which ends up in a corner. So we have to be careful of that because of JWP, as Jay said. But I see Romero coming back, and I see him, like you guys said there, him kind of giving us a performance to kind of go, okay, boys, I'm back now, and I'm going to hold up my hands. And even more so because he's got the vice captaincy. Do you know what I mean? I think he sat on that bench, and I think the human side of Ange Postecoglou has not berated him, but done it in a human way. You know when your parents were like, I'm not even going to beat you, I'm just disappointed. And you know when it hits you in your soul a little bit, and it hits you at the bottom of your heart, and you're like, oh, no, please, just beat me. Pick up the slipper. Beat me. I prefer the beats. Just give me this. It's fine. Listen, do it. It's fine. You know, but being disappointed, or like telling your grandma, and your grandma's like, doesn't even say nothing, just be like that's worse sometimes. So I kind of hope and believe that Ange has done something along them way there to kind of put it into Romero about how much we have dropped off and how many points we would have won if he was still in that side tonight. And that's where maturity comes from. That's where you as a captain comes from. You know, yes, we love his thunder, blood, fire and thunder, but like I don't like the slipper. I've had enough of the slipper though in my time. But the blood, thunder and guts, you know, it's part of his game. But it's about controlling that. It's about knowing when to use it. It's about making it using it for the positive rather than it being a negative. Rather than, like Jay said there, as someone like a Callum Wilson being able to wind him up and then you take the bait. Don't take the bait. You know what I mean? Be the fisherman. Don't be the fish. Do you know what I mean? Like, do not take the bait, you know? So it's about using that maturity there. And I think we're going to see a big performance from Romero. And the only thing that I can see is coming out with his 3 points.
Rick, thank you so much, my man. I'm going to come back around you in a second for predictions. Tal, we're going to go to you first. Big game. You're going to be there live at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium Thursday. Tal, you're going to go for?
All right. I'll stay optimistic. I am going to go for 3-1.
Okay, 3-1. Interesting. Spurs back on track at home.
Could be 3-2, but we'll stick with 3-1. I think we'll win, but one of them two.
Bless you. Tal, I was like, thanks so much as always. Love having you back on. We're trying to get Tal back in on a regular. For those that ask me, Tal Plus is obviously at every Spurs game after, which makes it pretty tricky, but we're going to try and bring her back in and blend her in as more as we can. So Tal, thank you so much. You'll be back with us very, very soon over what's going to be a really busy, frantic Christmas, January, February, whenever this show goes on to, period. You know what it's like. It's off the rails, as many have said. It is Spurs in general. Thank you so much. Jace.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. Jace, let's come to you. What are we going for?
I go 2-1 Tottenham. I think I definitely think we'll have the better of the game, but they will give us a problem from a set piece. That's for sure. So it's whether we take our chances. If we, like Tal says, I can see us having enough chances to win 3-1, 4-1 or something, but it's whether we take them all. And we were actually quite clinical at City, really, weren't we? To be honest, how many shots on target? 4 shots on target, scored 3.
Yep.
So, whereas Villa, I mean, we had about 18 shots at goal against Villa to score 1. That's ridiculous. So I think we'll have the opportunities to win, but I'll go for a 2-1.
Diamond, thank you so much. We'll go for 2-1. Jace, we'll see you very, very soon. Don't make it too long, my man. Always love having you on here. As much as I know,
you still got to ask Rick the killer question.
Fuzzy duck, mate. Bloody hell.
This guy, I tell you.
Jesus Christ. I can't.
Are you sure you've missed him, Rick? Are you sure you've missed him?
I have, I really have.
Have you? You sure?
Can't help it. Yeah, I can't help it.
I'm not sure. I think Rick's all right. He's getting out of these late night cup games now with come dancing, you know what I mean? Dancing on ice coming on, the lucky
Just
man.
going to use the fisherman's. I'm always going on the end of me rod.
Rick's my man. You said just a minute ago you reckon it will be 3 points against West Ham. Prediction, what are you going to go for?
I'm with T. I'm with a 3-1, but I'm also with Jason in the sense that one goal is going to come from a set piece or James Ward-Prowse assist, some way, shape, or form, no doubt. But yeah, 3-1 win, and the boys at the lane will be singing very, very loudly.
Top man. Guys, I must say, Ricky, bless him, for those, obviously, Rick's has been a regular on Last Word on Spurs for, I want to say, he's back in the audio days, this man. Same as Tal, same as Jay. It's a good 6-7 years now. Rick's entered, obviously, a crucial part that, obviously, we've been referring to on this show, where the man is going to be on your screens. For those that are in the UK, you can catch it overseas. He's going to be dancing on the ice for us on a regular basis in January. What I will say, Rick's, bless him, has been on this show on such a number of frequent occasions. We're going to try and best to still get Rick on in periods where we can, but I must say, look, we're heading into December now, January, where the man has got something really, really important to focus on, where, look, Spurs are always going to be his focus. I don't want to speak for Rick. Rick will tell me how big of a focus it is, but Rick, we're going to try and make it work as best as we can, but I would just say bear with, because I say we know Rick's a busy period for you coming up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just nutty. I mean, even this evening was a bit kind of come see, come saw, but we got there, we made it happen. So I will always, I love being on, I love the show, I love the hard work that you put in, Ricks, and I love all of the contributors. The jokes.
You sure about all of them, especially this one?
I do, especially that one. I remember when he busted.
If he's on dancing on ice, it might have finally. I'll watch Piers Morgan and Farage on that obscure channel.
What are you doing to me, bro? What are you doing to me?
He's making you squirm, Rick, for a while. He's leaving you to squirm with this one, I tell you.
Oh mate, no, like, honestly, I love it. I love the work that you do. I love being on. It's always a giggle, and we try and tell the truth, and we try and be as critical and as truthful and as real as we can. Sometimes I'm a bit delusional, but I admit that. And it's always an honor and pleasure. And I'll always try and make time for you guys, for all of you, and the show. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes I'm gonna have to miss out, but trust me, I'm trying my hardest to be there every single time.
I know you're my man. Listen, Rick, we're gonna catch up. We're gonna catch up beforehand, but mate, we are gonna wish you all the very, very best of luck from us all here. You've got an army of Last Word on Spurs guys behind you, the viewers, the listeners that have known you for the last 6-7 years. And what I will say to all those that ask me when is Ricky next going to be on, we're going to try and make it work with Rick's diary. We're going to make it a line. But like I say, he's got something really important coming up. We don't want to distract away from what has got this man to come for 2024. It's going to be a big one for him. It's going to be a big one for all of these guys here. Jace, thank you so much. Tal, thank you so much. Ricks, thank you so much. We've been the Last Word on Spurs. We urge you to keep safe, keep well. We're back with you on Thursday night for who knows what might come. But as always, stay safe, stay well.